I'm Melissa.
And I'm Mike.
Welcome back to Thursday. True Crime
Yeah,
Thursday.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so
So last week we had a very strange occurrence. So last week's episode we talked about a fire that occurred in 1977 when I was a kid, basically in the neighborhood that I grew up in, um, the house across the street from where I lived, and last week on Friday, the day
mhm.
after that episode came out, the house I grew up in actually, and the block of houses it was in actually caught fire. And it was almost the same type of tragic fire where, most of the homes were destroyed. There was actually, I believe he was a Marine vet who died in one of the homes, not in the house I lived in, but the one next to it. He was a Purple Heart recipient, retired Marine. His name was I don't know, John Garkashinsky. If I mispronounced that, I apologize. He passed away. So I thought, in the context of us just talking about
Super
that
strange.
case, yeah, it was just very very,
Crazy.
and it was odd because excuse me, I have a cold. I apologize. In the context of last week's episode, I was trying to do a little bit of additional digging and see if I could find any further information on that, and happened to search, the name of the town,
hmm
Lansdale, and fire department, and the first thing that came up was this fire on Andover Road, which was the road the other one was on,
That's so
and
crazy.
yeah, it was because even when I first saw it, I thought, oh, this must be a story from a couple of years ago or something, and then when I
hmm
saw that it just happened. I think it was at like 6 o'clock in the morning last Friday.
hmm
And then when I'm looking at the pictures and I'm like, wait a minute, by the location of that house, that looks like the one that we lived in. And yeah, it actually was. So the house
That's
that I lived in as a
so
child is just
crazy.
just like
So was anybody in that house at the time? Did
in
it
the one
say?
we lived in, the townhouse we lived in. I
hmm
don't know. I know they said that basically all I thought, forget the number of people they said were displaced. Those houses are like a block of four. So there's four townhouses in a group.
Uh-huh.
Um, and and they were all pretty badly damaged. There was one maybe on the opposite end that may have still been like habitable, but I don't think so because the
Yeah.
level of damage was just crazy. The stories were that there was an explosion. A lot of the people said they heard a boom before, and those houses did have natural gas lines. I remember we had a natural gas
hmm
stove when I lived there, so I'm gonna guess that it was some kind of a natural gas related thing. But yeah, kind of another tragedy, but
Wow, that's so
just
crazy.
strange coincidence that we just happened to be talking about that.
hmm
But yeah, that was not our discussion for the week, though. I just wanted to mention that since, like I said, we just talked about that one, and that was kind of interesting.
hmm
This week we wanted to talk about real quick, about some of the stuff that came out over the last week, I guess,
hmm
about the Nancy Guthrie case, which I think like closes some loops on it. Doesn't close all the loops on it, but definitely kind of closes some of the loops on it. I think it also explains why we haven't heard anything on it in a long time, but it makes me very interested as to why this information didn't come out sooner because um, the police,
Yeah.
let's see, the week of June 22nd to the 31st, they basically released the full text of two of the ransom letters that were received, and they had received a lot of ransom letters, and most of them they determined were fakes. They were
Fake, yeah.
opportunists trying to get money because they knew of the circumstance. So, but there were two of them that basically the FBI and the investigators kind of believe were authentic or are authentic. And so the first one, which they got sometime, oh gosh, sometime around February 2nd. And this one's a little long, but I'll read it for context. It says, "Hello, Savannah. We have you." So this was addressed directly to Savannah Guthrie, by the way.
Yeah.
"We have your mother, Nancy. She's safe but scared. She will be held for ransom, and once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. You will need to send Bitcoin in the amount of 4 million US dollars before 5 p.m. on Thursday the 5th. If payment is not received, the ransom will be increased to 6 million US dollars, which will need to be paid by 5 p.m. on Monday the 9th. Once payment is received to the Bitcoin address below, she will be released within 12 hours of deposit to a safe drop-off location back in Tucson. If payment is not received by the last deadline on Monday the 9th at 5 p.m., she will be killed." So they literally threatened to kill her in the ransom note.
Crazy.
"Your mother is aware of this, and her life is in your hands. It's in your best interest of everyone to have this completed as soon as possible. You will not be able to contact me from here on out. There will be no negotiation. Do not play games. Law enforcement will not be able to help you." She had a white smartwatch on the floor, of the foot of her bed, and a white floodlight in the backyard was destroyed. So they included those details, I guess, to show that they had actually been in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the authenticity from the police comes in,
Mm-hmm.
So the next note, which it's kind of crazy that was the case, by the way, back then, because I mean they talked about ransom notes, but they didn't really give too much detail. I think that was probably the one that was sent to TMZ as well, because that was the first one you heard about. But they didn't really talk too much about like the authenticity or kind of whether or not they believed they were real, which I guess if you're law enforcement,
That's so crazy because, like, I don't know, by reading that or, like, hearing that, it kind of makes me think, like, in the beginning they were thinking it was a family member or whatever, but I don't know, something about hearing that, it does kind
Yeah,
of make me think, like, yeah, this really could have been, like, an anti-Savannah person or
could have
something,
been.
and they found her mom and knew how close she
Yeah,
was with her mom and literally were just initially using it as a like a money grab, like an easy
yeah,
money grab.
yeah.
And I don't think they knew about like all of her, especially it being a normal person. I
Right,
think it shows more that it's a person that doesn't really know her mom, because otherwise I think they would have made sure to take her medication that she needs to take every day to, like,
true.
when you're in a ransom situation like that, a lot of those people, like, they want to keep the person alive until they absolutely, like, have no choice because they're trying to
Right,
get their payment. So if it was someone that knew her mom, they would also know that she has medication that she needs to take every day, or else she will just die on her own.
yeah.
And
Yeah, that's a
that
good point. I hadn't thought of it in that context of everybody thinking it was the son-in-law or the daughter or something. That's
Yeah,
true.
like they would know, okay, well look, our whole like the whole purpose of them taking her in the first place wasn't to kill her. It was to
Right.
use her as a pawn to get money.
Right.
So if somebody is using someone else as like a pawn to get money, they're going to keep them alive as long as they can to try and get that payment. That's their whole
Right.
purpose. Their whole purpose was never to like take her mom and kill her, or they would have just done that off the bat,
Right. Well,
you
there were
know?
those stories at one point that it was like some kind of revenge of something to do with Savannah and that, which those were just crazy stories, like that
People
somebody
always
would
kind
do
of
something like
go,
that. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah, the conspiracy theories always light up before anything.
yeah.
But yeah, so then the first deadline was the 5th at 5 p.m. On the 6th, they received a second note, and the FBI and the investigators did determine that they believe this note did come from the same people that the first note came from, so giving it authenticity. This note reads,
How many days
the
after the initial one was sent is this?
this was 4, so this was one day after the first deadline. This came on the 6th. The first note came on the 2nd.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So this one reads, Guthrie family, we did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition. We never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. which is kind of ironic considering that they threatened to kill her. But
But that's
she
always just,
perished.
yeah.
Yeah, she perished shortly after she was taken. We believe it was heart related. She is buried in nature now. Nothing you could have done could have changed that outcome. We want your family to know this and hope you can all find peace. We are truly sorry. Now, again, this was determined to be authentic. So this is real. This person is saying that she died from her, which if you remember when the story initially came out, they did talk about that she had a pretty serious heart condition that she needed like daily medication
Yeah.
for.
Hmm.
And so the first note came on I'm just looking through my notes. The first note came on February 2nd, but when was she actually abducted?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
she
what I was
was
just gonna ask.
yeah, she was abducted on the first. So the first note
So,
came one day after she was abducted.
and then
So
she
at that
probably
point,
passed away shortly after.
yeah, that at that point you would assume she was still alive. I would think probably it wasn't too long after that note was sent
Because she
that
was taken
she
late in the day, remember?
right. Yeah, it was the middle of the night, really.
So, they sent it the next day, you know? I mean,
Right. Right.
um,
Yeah, it was a Sunday, so yeah, because I remember they said she didn't show up for church. That's why they were looking for
why do
her.
you think they wouldn't give the location?
Wouldn't what?
Why do you think they wouldn't give the location of where she was
The
buried,
look
though?
I don't understand that. I don't
She's
understand that
buried in
because
nature.
she's
Like,
buried in nature. Okay, that's great, but like you know, you did this horrible thing to get money. You have already, told them that she passed. Why would you not just, I mean, maybe they're worried about, well, what if there were cameras in that area that we don't know about? They might find us. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's,
but even
yeah,
at
I,
that
I'm,
point, an abduction chart, well, I don't know if they can tell that she got, if she had a heart condition too, like, to be honest, she could have passed away even, not even just from not taking her medication, just in terms of like,
yeah, the
you know,
stress.
the stress, like, that'll make
Yeah,
it aggravated even more.
right. Well, and so the thing is and I don't know what Arizona laws are related to this, but excuse me. But since she died, I mean, you can make you can get to the point where you say that she died as a result of being kidnapped.
Yeah,
Kidnapping is a federal crime.
true.
You could get to
The life sentence
that
is true.
yeah at least a life sentence based on that. So it's just the whole thing is kind of crazy to me though that why did it take this long for this information to come out? Like it's been months.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the case a few times that there haven't been any real big updates or anything from the investigators or that. And I realize like they may still be looking for the person, so they might not want to put much out there. But I think like if anything it might help you in your investigation having this information out there because you might have somebody that reads this and goes, wow, the way that's worded, it sounds like, that sounds like the way Bob talks, or you know what I mean? Like something like that. No offense to anyone named Bob. I'm not accusing you of anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you would think if anything, it could help them in the investigation because, now like what this person's saying and, if somebody that knows around that time frame that somebody was like asking about heart medication or something like that.
Well, I guess they released the ransom notes too. I read because they want to basically put it out to the public to see if anybody knows anyone who like writes that way with like that penmanship or
Mm.
like had like to for people to also compare like handwriting and stuff because they released like the full note itself. So like
Oh,
that way
so
for people to come out and yeah.
so it was a physical note though. I thought it was just like an email.
No, I think I read that it was a physical note.
See, the thing I'm
Two
seeing is
ransom
actually
notes in hopes someone will will recognize the author's handwriting or writing style.
Yeah. Writing style is different, but the one thing that I'm seeing on one of the news stories, it's showing like something that was submitted to some news desk, to some like news desk for like a local TV station. Is it
Oh, and see, it also says
KOLD?
investigators have not verified that either claim is true and continue to treat the notes as evidence rather than fact.
Fair enough, but and that's I feel like that's always going to be the case until the case is settled. You know what I mean? Like there, nothing is fact until you've proven that it's fact.
The
So
yeah. It says the Pena County Sheriff Department said the notes contain distinctive language and writing characteristics that someone familiar with the author might recognize.
yeah,
Officials hope releasing them will generate new leads. Um, Authorities continue to analyze doorbell camera footage showing the masked individual, DNA, and other forensic evidence collected at the residence, and additional digital evidence recovered during the investigation.
yeah. I don't know. There's also a story that somebody who was briefly detained, which I remember that right after it happened, there was a guy that was like arrested for a short amount of time.
Because his
He's
mother in
seek
law outed him.
so yeah,
That
yeah.
one.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot that.
Yeah.
He's seeking over 3 million in damages for being, I guess, falsely accused. But yeah. This says the notes were sent to local station KOLD. Yeah, so that text is actually from like there's a screenshot of like an almost like an email, a
Yeah.
contact us page. They must have gone to the contact us or news tips page or something on their website, and that's how they sent it. So there's no, I don't think there's a
Oh, no
physical paper
handwriting. Yeah, yeah,
handwritten
yeah.
note, but so I
How
think
they
what they're
talk.
talking about there, yeah, the way they speak, and again, like if you knew someone in that area and it sounded like them, and again during that time frame they were acting a little weird, maybe it would be a trigger. But
I don't know. I think
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it says that they're still analyzing like different, things that they have. Like you said, there's probably a bunch of things that they haven't actually released that still happened. But
right, yeah,
the fact
I
that they haven't caught anyone yet is really crazy to me because I don't know how there's cameras everywhere. Like
yeah,
I don't understand how you didn't, and even her own house had cameras, like her own doorbell camera or floodlight. Like you don't see, like you can't. What's the point of having a camera if it doesn't log things before it records them? Like she had a floodlight camera in her backyard. How don't we know what was on that floodlight camera before it broke? Or,
right,
her
right,
doorbell camera, like we were able to see everything on it before it got ripped out of the wall. But even
yeah,
neighbors, like I understand the properties were big and kind of to themselves, but like you could still see to watch everybody. Hey, I need your footage from this whole day. And like it
right,
was late at night. So
right,
I'm assuming anything late at night. I don't know. I don't
yeah,
understand.
yeah. That's the thing to me is like, were there no homes around there that had like cameras that caught a vehicle going past at that time of the morning, that they would have had, some idea of the car that was involved, because they had to have a car.
They had
You
to have
didn't
a
see a
car.
car on her camera, but
Or the
there had to
neighborhood
be a car
behind
involved.
hers. The neighborhood behind
Right,
hers, assuming they came through the backyard and that's where the flood camera was and somehow broke inside. Somehow,
right,
you still on the back end of the street. Like there has to
right.
be like something.
Or
And
again, all those things we've talked about before with like cell phone pings, getting cell phone pings, like
oh
the
yeah.
cell phone towers around there. Could they have not gotten, you know, cell phone pings of who was moving through that area at that time of the morning? I'm just that part of it is kind of, I mean, unless the person really had it well planned out and like didn't have a cell phone with them at the time, you know, just didn't bring one. That could
Or
be.
like was hiding in her backyard like the whole day, waiting until night, or
Yeah,
like
could be.
I don't know. But again, there still was like some form of getaway car. It's not like they just
Right.
okay, come on, Nancy, let's walk off together. Like don't
Yeah,
say
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
Like
that's
there
it.
still would be
That's
a
it.
car at some point leaving that area that you can literally investigate, like narrow it down to every car. I
Yeah,
don't know. Maybe I
yeah.
should have been a detective. Let me in there.
I think
Let
that's
me on the
part of the
team.
I think that's part of the problem is that like because we talk about a lot of these cases and we talk about the kind of evidence that they use to catch people. I think you look at a case like this and you're like, well, why aren't they using cell phone
Yeah.
pings? Why don't they have stuff from other cameras and not
Yeah.
being like involved in it? You don't know what they do and don't have, right?
Exactly.
But then when these kind of ransom letters come out, the second ransom letter to me like confirming that that
I think
she
it sounds
died.
pretty legit.
Yeah. Um, like the fact that it took this long for those to come out, it does
Yeah.
make you wonder like what other evidence do they have and based on that other evidence, like why is this not already solved?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would if I was the person who did it, and I would never do something like that, so, take this for what it's worth, but after that letter was sent, I would have left the country
Well,
because,
that's what I was gonna
you
say
know,
too. Like we haven't heard from them since then because at this point they looked at that as like a money grab. Uh,
yep,
she ended up passing. They sent their ransom of like, hey, give us this money or we'll kill her. Probably
right,
thinking that like Savannah's gonna give the money because she doesn't want her mom to be killed, and then shortly after her mom dies. So
right,
then during that time between when they sent that first ransom note and when they sent the second one, oh shoot, she died.
right,
Okay, let's bury her and then we'll send the new ransom note.
right,
Sends the new ransom note and okay, well we're done here. Like,
yeah,
what's
yeah, I
the
mean,
what now am I gonna threaten like okay, but still give us maybe 2 million and I'll tell you where she is.
yeah, right, right. That would
You
have been
know?
really bad if they did that, but I mean, even if they at least did that, they'd have like the full closure.
Like they
I
did
mean,
that and now they just kinda disappear.
yeah, I
Because
mean,
we were talking the other day with some people like about uh like people on the FBI list, like most wanted
right,
list, and how some of the people on the FBI wanted list like literally will disappear to like France or something, and when they're over there they're it's kind of like unless they do something bad over there and then
yeah,
get sent back here, like if they go over there and just live a regular normal well-behaved life, like then they're just in France. It's just what it is.
yeah.
They already left America. There's nothing that American can do for them. They just can't ever come back to America
Right.
or get in
Well,
trouble in France.
yeah, if they find out they're in France, then the FBI could, they could get them like extradited back from France. But
But then there's
if
those
they,
no extradition countries that they can go to too.
right, right, true, true.
You know?
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
if they're in a position, I'm just saying if they're in a position like this person is, where like nobody in America knows where they are enough to put them on like a travel ban or
right,
anything like that.
right.
They're in the position right now where they can go wherever they want and just hide out there and
Yeah,
like even, okay, so they go to France, but nobody knows that they're in France.
right.
They're just looking for them in America. Like, okay, yeah, let's put them on this list. And like, unless somebody knows that where they are and tells on them,
Yeah, yeah. The only other thing is though, I would assume that the person who did it because they needed money. I mean, not for nothing, but probably not somebody who could just hop on an airplane and go to France
they
because
really,
if you could do that,
they
you
really
wouldn't
shot
be
for the stars with the
trying to
$4
get money.
million Bitcoin
Yeah,
request.
I know, right?
Because isn't
Yeah,
like
that's
4 million in Bitcoin like way more than 4 million USD?
well, no, it's the same thing. I mean, it's $4 million, but in Bitcoin currency. So however many Bitcoins equals $4 million. They weren't asking for
Oh,
4
that's
million
right. That's what it
Bitcoin.
was. That's what it is.
Yeah,
No, yeah,
if it
four
was four
million.
million Bitcoins, that would be like, I don't
Yeah,
know. I
that's
can't
what
even
I'm
do the
thinking.
math on
No,
that.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking. I'm thinking four
yeah, that would
million
be crazy.
Bitcoin.
That would be crazy. That would be crazy. Um, no, I mean the whole thing is crazy, but
They want $4 million sent to Bitcoin.
right. They want it sent to Bitcoin because they think it's untraceable, and as I understand it, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not untraceable. So,
Mm. They'd be
there
better
was
off
another
sending,
aspect,
saying like, "Hey, send the cash here."
right? Yeah, they would have been better off giving like a, what is it, a Cayman Islands bank account, because Cayman Islands, it's like, I don't know, it's very secretive when you have money in a Cayman bank account. Apparently,
Oh, good to know.
one thing I was curious about, and I assume they knew, but I wonder if they shared that information with the Guthries like right away, or did they hold that note back? Because if you think about the messaging that came from the family at the time, um, like I don't think around that time frame that they were, sounding like
Oh,
they
yeah.
didn't think she was, at some point they kind of did,
I mean,
but I feel like it was quite a bit after that.
I think it could have also just been like not in denial, but like a form of in denial because it's like unconfirmed. So even though it
True.
sounds legit, I as a like me as someone whose mom just disappeared and now like getting these ransom notes and now this person's sending I'm getting a bunch of fake ransom notes first of all, and now
Right.
this other one comes through saying that like my mom died because of her medical conditions and all that stuff. At that
Right.
point, they had already, I'm pretty sure, said in the media, like, that she had medical conditions.
Right.
So it's also kind of like, what's to say that this person didn't hear about that as well? Because a lot of times, too, like,
True. Yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
somebody who just committed a crime, they're watching the news, at least in the shows that I watch. They're
Yeah.
watching, they'll do their crime and then they'll like keep an eye on the news about it because
Right.
they they want to hear what everybody else is hearing. They want to hear what the
Right.
latest updates are. So, they could have also heard that update of like, yeah, she has these medical conditions, and she could have died, like, she could have passed away, but even if that's not the person who actually took her, like somebody could
Right.
have still sent that ransom note and it could still be fake and
Right.
it could just be some random person who, sent that and
Right.
heard that she
I
has a
mean,
medical condition that's serious and is saying like, hey, she died. Sorry, sorry to give you this news. She's buried in nature. That's why they just said like in nature.
right.
And that's the end of it. So if you're Savannah, it's kind of
True.
like I'm not gonna take that with 100% fact and like be sad
Right.
and just assume that they're telling the truth and that this is what it is, even if it could be true, and even if in Savannah's head she is like, well, my mom did have a serious medical condition. She didn't have any of her medicine, so like she could be dead, but I'm not gonna take this person's note as fact that she is dead.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm still
And
gonna
you're
hold
right.
out
It's
hope
not,
to give me her.
yeah, and it's not denial as much as it is like hopefulness, I would say.
Hmm.
Because denial is, it's true, you're just denying that it's true. This is,
Right.
you don't know. But the other aspect, and this is putting on
True.
my techie hat a little bit, but I know with those kind of things, like assuming that they went to like a contact us page on that news, that local station's website, and did a news tip through there. So when you do those kind of things,
Hmm.
generally, and I don't know theirs specifically, but
Yeah.
generally those kind of things log your IP address. And you can get a lot of things from an IP address. For
Unless they use
example,
a
if,
VPN from like
yeah, that's true. But
South
yeah,
America. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
people use
Okay.
VPNs just to
Forget it.
be on their stuff just to be able to
Yeah.
watch like Netflix in a different country, you know?
Yeah. Fair
I'm
enough.
sure if
Fair
they're
enough.
sending something like that online, 100% they're using some kind of VPN. Even if it's a
Yeah.
VPN saying that like I'm in California when I'm in New York.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna like
That's fair
cover their
enough.
tracks way more right like that if they're
Yeah,
using.
my initial thought was not so much that they could find them from it, which you're right, if they're not using VPN they could find them from it, but
Mhm.
more that they would be able to identify that it came from the same source.
Oh,
You know what I
true.
mean? Like
True.
that it would be able to they'd be able to say, "Oh, yeah, this was the same origin that the other one came from." Now,
Even then
assuming they
they'd
were
be
using the
smart to
same
use
VPN,
yeah, they'd be smart to switch
then
their VPN.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know that there'd be much value. I also always wonder about the
Yeah.
VPNs. Like, if it's for, something like watching Netflix, okay. But if it's an investigation into like crime, could the VPN provider not be like subpoenaed to give that information up? You know what I mean? To give up the information of,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, you, you proxied basically this connection.
Would you be able
What
to
was the
see that it's
original
a
source?
VPN?
Um, Maybe, I'm not sure. I'm not
Because then they might
100% sure
just,
that that's identifiable. Yeah. I
like
mean, the thing is, if it was somebody sending it and it was coming from like, South Africa or something like that, you're going
red
to assume
flag.
one of two things. Yeah, it's either fake or it's somebody using VPN. Now, it could be that they VPN it to New York, or because you can do that too. You can just do it to a local one. Yeah, and I'm not sure. That's something I'd have to look into if it's identifiable as to, the fact that it's coming from. I would think so though, because the IP addresses are owned by companies. Like you can look up your internet IP address right now.
Yeah.
You could look it up and you can see who the internet provider that IP address belongs to is. So I would think
Oh,
with
right.
VPNing, like it would be somehow identifiable in that case or traceable, but I'm not 100% sure of that because,
Yeah.
I'm not that versed in all that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's it. That's
I
all
don't
I
know.
got on it.
I know that like, I did see Savannah put out another message recently. Same kind of like pleading for anybody with information or if you're the person who took her or
Right.
whatever. Because I think at this point they, regardless what happened to her, they just want that closure of like,
Right.
okay, if she if
Yeah.
she did die, like where is she? And if she didn't, like
Right.
just return her. But
Yeah.
um yeah, that's such a like sad random situation too. Like
It is. It is. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to have somebody like for no other reason than greed, it's just
yeah.
utter greed to do something like that is crazy.
Yeah, it's just so it's like such a random like thing. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
and bold nonetheless as well. Like that's
Yeah.
where these are the kind of cases that we were kind of talking about the other day about the fire of just these people that do these crimes and just like get away with it. Like that's what I have such trouble like comprehending is like how somebody can go in this lady's house who has cameras like in her
Right.
like has cameras. She's not just like a older woman that's like old school that has no cameras. Like she has cameras in her house. She has a camera in the back. She has a doorbell camera in the front. Like her house is protected with like
Right.
video surveillance. And I'm sure her neighbors are too. Like usually in neighborhoods like that, even if it's older people, like they have some kind of camera.
Right.
And how somebody can just go inside her home, take her, and just like disappear into the night. And like
Yeah.
six months later, hasn't been caught. Like nobody knows
Yeah.
where she is. Like it's
Especially when,
so
when you think when you think back to what came out from the doorbell camera and the whole thing of the person, I would say guy, but the person trying to hide themselves using like a piece of a flower to block the camera. They didn't exactly look like they've done this a lot. They looked pretty amateurish. And, with that in mind, like you would think that they would have just made enough mistakes that, and then it does make you wonder about things like, because they said, yeah, she had security cameras, but they hadn't signed up for the monitoring piece. So none of it was being recorded. That's why, like, the video they did get off the doorbell camera was just what had been, I guess, cached somewhere, but, they weren't saving video because they didn't have a subscription or whatever. Um, so, like,
Crazy.
could the person have known that? Who knows? I doubt it. Um, but yeah, I mean, you're right. Like that, just and then for them to like, how much did they have to know about Nancy Guthrie to know that she lived at home alone, and that, you know what I mean? Like that, like, some celebrity's family member, you wouldn't just go, like, for you to go and do something like that, you'd have to know something about them. Like, does she have, a caretaker who stays with her? You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
to have all that information about her also makes you wonder, what
well,
level of planning.
he did bring a gun with him, so like maybe he just kind
True.
of figured, oh, if I go in
True. If he
there and
did.
there is like, a nurse in there with her, or she has like a live-in housekeeper or something like
Right.
that, he's probably still figuring that it's no threat and
True.
I have this gun anyways, which I'm just gonna pull out and like it's gonna scare them and
Right.
I
Right.
have it strapped
Yeah.
to the
True.
front of me.
True. True.
Like that's how also
Yeah.
I'm sure he got her out of the house in the first place and like,
Right. True.
you know,
True. Yeah. Yeah, that is true.
like you're seeing a
Yeah, it's
masked
just
person come into your house with a gun, like you're probably gonna listen to them if you don't have
right.
protection yourself.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I guess the idea on the monitoring thing for the camera, they did try to hide
Identity,
the,
yeah. They had a
their
mask
identity.
on.
They
They
had a
had gloves
mask on.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Like,
so there was some thought put into that as far as, whether or not they knew that they didn't have monitoring set up on it. So
hmm
yeah, just a crazy one. I'm sure there'll be, well, I mean, I assume there'll be updates at some point.
hmm
The hope is that maybe they find the person somehow. The longer it goes on, the more I suspect not, but we'll see.
yeah. Yep. So, anyways, till next time,
Ooh,
guys.
yeah. Stay tuned and make sure you check out next week's episodes. Have a good weekend.
Bye, everybody. Huh? Can you say hi? Yeah, you can say hi.
Stop. There we are. Okay.